Welcome to Casual Crafting. I continue the build of the Wing Gundam XXXG-01W Endless Warps Edition. Now, I have already finished building all the parts of the Gundam in the previous videos, and now I move on to decorating. And what is that really? It's applying all the various decals or stickers, as maybe some may call it, to the Gundam. Now, the Wing Gundam model, this one, came with two types of decals, actually three. Well, one is the silver foil stickers, which you see here, which we actually applied while building the model, right? Most of these went on the eyes and on the gun, right? And we actually used that. I'll put it aside. And the other stickers, the other decals are the dry rub and the water slide decals, and they are both applied differently. And what do we need to do this? Well, you need a pair of scissors to cut out the decals. You need your knife, hobby knife, to cut out sections of the sheet if you need to. You need some water for the water slide decals. And for the water slide decals, I also highly recommend you buy this thing called Mr. Mark Setter. This helps the water slide decals stay on your model. Now you might wonder, as casual crafting, I don't buy anything that's not necessary, and I can tell you I have tried applying water slide decals without Mark Setter, just using water, and most of my decals fell off after a few days, and that's very annoying because it's very tedious to put them on. So it is always possible I did not actually apply the decals properly or with enough skill, but that's the whole point, right? I mean, as casual crafters, we don't really have that much time to get to expert levels of this hobby, so I would just recommend you buy the Mr. Mark Setter to make your application of the water slide decals a lot easier. Well, so let's get going. Well, the first thing to do before any kind of labeling is to actually figure out which decals you actually want to use. So if you look at the manual, on the back page, it will give you the recommended locations of all the decals. Now, if you watch the anime, you will not see all this level of detail in the anime, but I guess they apply that in these diagrams. Now you will notice that there's lots of decals being applied, and like for myself, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, do I really like all these words all over the wings? Maybe not, right? So maybe I might skip some of the wing decals, right? If you look at the artwork behind here, right, we can see some stickers along the wing, back of the legs, the gun. Well, so in the end, it's your model, right? You do what you do. So that's something you do first. Let's look at the pictures here and figure out what exactly you think you're gonna do. Okay, I'll put this aside for now.
I would like to invite you to support my channel by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. Okay, to start off, I will be applying the decals on these magazine parts because the requirement is not very large based on the manual, right? It's just the letter L from the dry rub sheet. Right, and there we go, look at it. So to get to the letter L, you can see that it's buried quite deeply into the sheet, right? A lot of the labels kind of overlap somewhat. It's not that easy to really separate them out. So what I do normally is, as far as possible, I try to section out the sheet just to make it easier to access the parts, right? So I'm gonna just cut out parts of the sheet now. Just using a normal pair of scissors and just carefully cutting around. Labels. So now I have two sheets of this, two main parts of this, right? And so what I've done is generally making this L more accessible. I did not mention it early on, but you need tweezers for this. It just makes it a lot easier. So I'm going to put this aside, and I am going to use the scissors to cut along the side. Now I'm going to cut through the L because I don't really need the I guess the letter. Just gonna cut there, and I'm gonna cut here, and now I have freed up the L, and I am just gonna put it on a piece of white cottony material just to give it some contrast and so I can see it better. Okay, so I'm just gonna now cut this again into half because there's two of them. And you also notice that these things tend to pop around. So where did the other half of this thing go through my finger? So there we go, rescue this guy. And we have to cut off the corner here so that we don't get unwanted material or unwanted markings onto the model. Alright. Also important to note which side faces down, right? The sticky side faces down, so we carefully put it here to know what we're doing. Alright, so if you look at the diagram again, it seems to show that this square circle is facing down, so we'll put it here. So the trick of using this kind of decal is that you put it in place and then you rub it on and it will stay on. So the only downside is you don't get to do this twice, right? You do it once, and if you get it wrong, it's kind of sucks at that point, right? Because you can't really fix that. Otherwise, applying it is actually quite simple. Okay, so let's try. Right, we're gonna position this over the spot as much carefully as we can, and that's the tricky part because it's not so easy to sometimes get the orientation good, right? You cut the plastic, and are you straight, are you centered? It's not always so clear. So it kind of looks good, so I'm going to lightly rub with my thumb to hopefully not move it in position. So when you rub it, it begins to start to stick to the surface. Then you just rub harder. I'm using this plastic thing to rub it down more. I'm just trying to be careful not to shift the thing. If you shift it, you can actually tear this. Now I'm rubbing my fingernail. I'm now carefully releasing it with my other finger. I'm now putting my nail on the other end and rubbing it down. Then I'll continue to rub it down. And I'm kind of confident I'm now rubbing even harder using the end of the tweezer. Make sure you get the edges. Make sure you get the edge. And if you think you're good, what you do is you carefully start to peel off the plastic, I don't know, whatever you call this plastic sheet thing. So, and there you go. See, now it comes off, and you have left behind this pretty nice label, which now that I look at it, I can tell is slightly angled. And that's the thing, is you can actually change this now, so I just have to put it further down and then it looks fine, right? I mean, some of these things, if you look up close you can see it. If you don't look up close you don't see it, so don't look too closely. But that's the challenge, right? Trying to get that exactly straight is not that easy. And so now I try this with the second piece. Same thing, I'm going to try to position it in place. And do roughly the same thing. So I'm applying again gentle pressure to the plastic, trying to carefully not knock the carrier. Just using various things around me, right, just to press it down. Nothing too technical here. Tool wise, you don't have to really buy anything special. Just have some hard smooth objects to do it. And there's always a fingernail, right? Your fingernail is a perfectly fine tool. In fact, you probably don't need to do all the switching between the tools. Probably fingernail is good enough. It's just I just feel better doing it. Makes me feel that I'm putting extra attention to this. And hopefully it will come up, as good as before. So I think I'm good here. And let me just lift up. Oh, it's not good. It's not good. I can see the plastic is. It looks like the square is lifting up. I may have actually damaged this decal a bit, but that's the difficulty of this whole exercise. Applying decals is the most tiresome thing of all this activity. Okay, why is this edge not staying? It seems the square part is not adhering for some reason. Okay, anyway, I got this off, and this one I seem to have gotten it a bit more straight than the other guy, but that's an example of applying a dry rub decal. You can see I spent about 6-7 minutes just doing two of these things. Very time consuming. You have to do a few more dry rub decals again. I'm just going to do the gun where I have to apply J, K, H, and I, and for the gun it's a bit more annoying because the surface is angled, right? It's not maybe that easy to get it on the stable. So again, very carefully, I need to look at this arrangement here. H, I, J, K. So again, carefully cut. And if you wonder why a lot of these modeling channels, right, they use cutting boards for the models, I personally think it's all because of having the need to cut these labels out. Right, you need a good cutting surface. So H. And J and K. So yeah, cut those out. Put it to the side. Okay, so we have that here. Now again, it's very careful that you don't confuse the orientation, because these things only stick one side up, and if you actually rub the wrong side, you're going to rub off the label and no more decal essentially, right? So you don't make that mistake. So one of those things where you look at the manual, look at it very carefully and plan your movement. Okay. You're going to feel a bit of a rougher side. Yeah. Actually, this is facing this way. Yeah, okay, so if I take the gun, based on the manual, well, first I got to cut off this bit here. This goes on the gray part, and it's kind of straight, and it angles up. So how do I do this? Okay. Looks like I'm supposed to be able to get this in the middle of the lower side here. Oh, you know what? I'm actually holding H. No, wait a minute. Yeah, this is JK. So I'm holding H actually. And H actually goes behind here. Oh. That's a really tight fit. I have to look at the manual a bit more to figure out how this is supposed to go in. Okay, and this is where it gets really tricky, because now I have to really trim this even closer so that you can get it even to fit within the confines of the space. So based on the manual, this label is supposed to go in this space right here, right? And trying to get it to fit in there, it's been a bit tricky. So I really got to trim this down very carefully and get it closer into the spot that I want. I also want to be very careful that I don't actually flip the label and end up damaging it. Oh no, this is the back side really. Right, so I have to make sure I don't get the orientation mixed up. So pushing it back, we can see that the white part is still kind of sticking out, so I need to even trim this a bit more. Possibly even cutting out a bit of the decal itself. I mean the printed part of the decal itself, right? So let's get back to the tweezer and see if we can get this in place. I suppose this is good enough. I'm trying to get it somewhat lined up with this line here. It just seems a convenient line to match up with. And there we go. Let's try to start rubbing with whatever I have to rub now. What can I use to rub this that is not too damaging? So I'm gonna look around my table, and I actually do have another kind of tweezers from my electronic set, and this one has blunt nose tweezers, which I'm going to use to rub it now. I'm going to use to rub it over it. Hold it in place while I carefully release. I'm going to move my fingernail to press on the top. I'm now going to rub this blunt nose tweezers aggressively over the words. So hopefully I am able to do the rub transfer of this tightly spaced label. And it looks like I was successful. Now this is the outcome. Not too bad, I think. Right, the print is quite nice if you get it well done. Now of course the problem now is having to reproduce that on the other side. So knowing this, I have to also carefully cut out the eye, and I know I have to cut it really close also. Right. Take the tweezer. Oh, wait, I also have to cut out the bottom, so you put the gun down and you trim out the bottom. Yeah, you can see that I'm handling this like a lot more carefully than the actual plastic model bits of this. Okay, so I got it here. Well, look here, I line it to the center line. So I'm going to try to do the same thing here. I'm going to adjust this a bit. Try to. Oopsie. Oh. It jumped. I may just have to stop after a few of these labels because it's so stressful trying to get them on correctly. I'll do it the other way around. Lift this and push it back a bit more because I did cut this back pretty well. And I think I am pretty well lined up to that center line of that gun groove there. So I'm going to take my blunt nose tweezers and I'm going to start to rub it out. Using my fingernail to stabilize it. And there we go. I think I got this guy pretty well applied too. Right. So now we have J and K, which is a very long label that looks like goes in the straight line. Well, slightly angled line. You're supposed to put this at a bit of an angle facing up. Why you do that? I mean, if a gun and you have some kind of label, whatever the label is going to tell you, like what, don't shoot me. Why would I put it at an angle? Of course, putting it at an angle causes more problems, right? Because you have to align it more carefully. Okay, carefully cut out the K. And I'm going to carefully cut out the J. And the question I have is, do I really care if it's an angle or not an angle? How closely do I feel I need to follow the manual's prescription of how this label is going to go? Okay, so if I put it here, if I follow the manual, the letters are supposed to kind of almost touch the bottom and the top. And the circle is kind of close to the edge. Move it further in. And do something like this. So there's a bit of a gap on the bottom and the top for me to move around. Okay, so I'm just going to do a bit of gentle fingernail rub using this prior thingy, and I'm going to start rubbing on with these blunt nose tweezers. Hopefully releasing on this side, turning the gun around, and rubbing out the other part of the decal. Because the tricky part is because because this tweezer head is still kind of small, right? Make sure I'm not missing any part of this decal. Again, we don't want to tear the label, tear the words by accident. So I'm going to run this over with my fingernail one more time. Because thumbnail is pretty broad and it applies pretty good pressure. Okay, I think this is pretty good, so I'm going to take hold of it carefully and lift up the plastic, and there again, I think I did a pretty decent job with applying this guy. So let me get on with the last label. So I'm going to cut out again the red corner and the letter K. So this would be simpler as the previous ones because there's more empty space for me to hold on to it, right? I'm not so concerned about space or about space and location. So again, I'm going to put it down, and I am going to hold it by the bottom corner just so that I have ability to move it down. Okay, so from before, I'm going to give a bit of space between the circle and the bottom letters. And the top is kind of close, so I think this location is good. Apply some pressure here and start applying and rubbing on with the tweezer. If you're wondering where this tweezer came from, it's an electronic kit, electronic screwdriver kit. It came with this tweezer with magnifying glass at the end. Magnifying glass doesn't really function too well, to be honest. Now we can try that. Can I read the words? Actually, there are little micro words on there. Actually, looks like they're using what size less than size 1 font or something. I'll move it out of the way. Carefully release, and then turn it around. And go into the side. Okay, look good. Got a good fingernail rub, thumbnail rub. Okay, should be good as any. So let's again carefully lift this up. And there we go. I think again a successful application of that decal. Alright, so I think that's enough of this stuff for now. I look forward to you joining me as I work on different kinds of decals.